So we are recording. So officially, again, thank you so much for being here on a Thursday, or as I like to call it, Friday Junior, and for also being part of the copy chat and getting the upgrade kit. It is no small thing, especially as you hear me talk about all the time, all these things that tell you to do this, be this, buy that on the internet, right? So I appreciate that not only did you tune into the copy chat, but that you upgraded to get the kit. Because not only are you helping your copy, as you can see, there's something from the interviews, I'm sure that you all agree, could go back and listen to again and again. And we have people that still come back to me and say, I still listen to interviews from season 1. Or whenever I sit down to write a sales page or something, I look at the conversation that you had with so-and-so and see.
You guys could just use the water in the house to wash your hands.
Thank you. I'm just going to mute you. I'm just going to mute you if you're not muted. So it's really, really beautiful. So not only, these are really things that you can use again and again, which is amazing. And also, you are helping us raise money for ovarian cancer research. And if you haven't seen, we raised over $13,000 for Hope for Heather, which is no small thing to be able to hand them a check, a virtual check for about $13,248 and I think 60 cents. I think I might be right, but there's 60 cents in there, which is absolutely incredible. And I want to tell you that especially in this year when a lot of Hope for Heather, they rely on going, if you're from upstate New York or you know anything about New York State, you'll know that the New York State Fair is like life there. And we don't have the New York State Fair this year. And what happens at the New York State Fair is a lot of people, whether it's breast cancer awareness or ALS or certain things, will go, and there's this whole pavilion inside the fair where people can promote the causes and the things that they work for. So Hope for Heather has lost out on a lot of donations this year because the fair was canceled. So I really believe that this community was able, you know, to really make up for that loss in a very significant way, which is why I encourage you to remember and to think about where can you start to have a give back component in your business, right? Even if you feel like it's small, or, you know, we think we have to be, you heard me say like this Bill Gates level rich in order to give back. And that's not true at all. You can have such an impact on an organization and on a charity and put your money where your beliefs are by just thinking in your own business, how could I start to give back? Whether it's for every client, maybe you give back a small percentage. I've had clients of mine where by having one of their clients, they then sponsor another woman who maybe wouldn't be able to have this, their particular one-on-one service. There's so many things that you can do, and I really invite you to think about it. Okay, so we have tons of questions that came through. So I'm gonna kind of go down the line and I'm gonna answer these questions. And then Yes, I also want to give a shout out to Justin as well, Heather, because Justin also helped us as well. So this was not all soloed. A few hundred of these dollars came from Justin's incredible offer to get $50 from his course, which was really, really awesome. And we thank Justin so much. Justin is like a favorite, a fan favorite around here. As I told him in his thank you card, you were a fan favorite. So that's always really, really exciting. So, okay, we have tons of questions that came through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go down the line here and answer questions. And then what I'd love to do is take a few minutes after that and see, are there other questions that maybe you didn't get a chance to submit, or maybe hearing my answers to these questions spark something. So if you have something that you're taking notes with, I'd ask you to take that out, start taking notes for yourself. And we'll also, I will try and check the comments periodically, but there's a lot of moving parts. So I'll try and see what we get to. And then in the end of it, if you have a question, then you can unmute yourself and you can ask. So let's go through. I'm just gonna go back and forth between my screen here as well, because I wrote down some things. So if you just see me looking away, that's why. So one of the first questions we had was someone saying, hey, I'm launching a course and I need help writing the landing page copy. And in terms of also talking about a webinar/challenge registration page, and saying that it converted at about a little over 35%. And what can you do to get a better conversion rate for a landing page in general? Like, what can you do to up the conversions of a landing page, right? So and I'd love to see if anyone else has been working on a landing page. Is this something that comes to you? Pop it in the comments. Let me know if like, yes, I work on landing pages, and I always want to know like what's going to make this the most compelling, or a webinar registration page or a challenge registration page. So there's kind of three components here that you want to pay attention to. And hold on, I just still hear, I'm just going through to make sure I didn't miss somebody who wasn't not muted. Hold on one second. Let's just see if I missed it. And if you are not muted, will you mute yourself? That might make it easier, but I just still hear one small thing. Maybe it's gone now. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, you're working on a landing page. Okay, cool. So the three things that you want to think about when you're working on a landing page are the following. Number one is you need to have a clear promise. You need to have a clear promise of what you're going to get from this masterclass, from this webinar, right? So so this is no place to be, for the lack of a better word, super, super clever. If this is, you're starting out and you're really wanting to like nail this, it's always better to be clear over clever. So if you're helping women, let's say, get pregnant naturally, right? Even if they've tried, A, B, and C methods that haven't worked, you want that clear transformation to be at the top, right? If you're saying, I help people get better conversions on their landing pages, you want to say that at the top, right? You want to have a very clear transformation of what's going on at the top. That's usually where I go, I'm not exactly sure. So let's say you say something like confidence or more self-awareness or self-discovery. You need to link that back to what that particularly means for this person. So you want to have a very clear transformation. That's number one. Number two, you want to have social proof. Social proof is your best friend. And so a lot of people go, well, I haven't done this class before yet, Marisa, or this is a brand new masterclass. I don't have that just yet. First off, don't stress yourself about that. I know each and every one of you have testimonials of people that have worked with you in some capacity. So it doesn't have to be particular to this particular webinar or masterclass. It needs to just be a representation of your work, right? So someone may have, I'll give you an example. The very first time I launched the Copy Confidence Society, I had small little groups that I had taught. And of course I had stellar results for my one-to-one clients, but I didn't have the society. So I just used my examples of my client, Jen. Hey, we worked on her Summit Masterclass page. It converted at 85%. It gave way to her $100,000 launch. My other client said there's nobody she would trust with any sort of copy than me. So I threw those as my testimonials on the page. And as obviously the group has grown, we're now about to go into our fourth round of people in it. Obviously, I have tons of testimonials now from the group, right? So each and every one of you I know has testimonials of people that have worked with you. So add in those social proof, add in those pieces of social proof, okay? And then the third thing that you wanna make sure that is often missing from a webinar landing page, and I know that people are gonna go, really, this is it? Is that sometimes we wait too long to ask people to sign up. Like you need to have a button at the top, and you probably would wanna have maybe another button on that page if it's a little bit longer. But you need to have a button pretty soon. So ideally on the top of a landing page for a webinar or for a masterclass, and if you wanna see an example of this, you can go to my page for Create Your Couture Copy, which will be coming up again in a few weeks. But you can go to, I'm gonna type it in the comments, you can kind of see a version of signing up for like a free masterclass. I'm gonna put this in the comments, marisacorcoran.com/3-part, and let me know if I'm wrong, but I think this is the link. As I told you, my team takes care of like all the tech stuff, but I think this is right. So you'll see at the top of this, it has a very clear transformation, and then it says exactly what it is, a 3-part, it might not say that at the moment because we're not running it at the moment, but it normally says a 3-part masterclass. It says the dates, and then right after that, it has a sign up.
Carrots?
Oop. I'm just gonna ask you to mute yourself if that was you. Thank you. So you just want to make sure that you actually have a button at the top. And actually we talked about this in what season was it? Let me think for a second. In season 2 of the Copy Chat about the different buyer personas and the different people who register for our things. So very often one of our biggest people are reds. They're the color red. And they're the people who just want to, like, they don't want to read all the copy. They want to have that button. They want to be able to sign up, like, take me there. So we always want to make sure that we have a button at the top of our website, at the top of our landing pages, sales pages, all of it to get those people. So that's the answer. Now, in terms of the number that you're looking for, if it's a cold audience, meaning that this is going to people who don't know you, anything that's converting above 20% is considered pretty stellar. If this is a warm audience, then you really want to be looking at conversion rates that are about 50%. And so if you're falling below those ranges, then you want to look, is my transformation clear? How could I be clearer? Do I have social proof to back this up? And have I made it easy for people to sign up? Is there a button that is made it very easy? Now, there's a few other things I would suggest as well, but to not overwhelm you, for you who asked that question, anybody else that's here, those are the 3 things that you're going to want to look at to start. And so let me know what else might come up from that. Or as you're listening to any of these questions, hey, here's something that I hadn't thought about before until you said it, and I'm going to go and try it. So pop that in the comments as well too. Like, oh, I never thought about this, and I'm going to make sure that I go and do it. Okay, taking a sip of my chai. I'm really into iced chai while I've been here because I don't drink coffee, but it's so hot here that the other morning I was walking on the beach with my hot cup of Earl Grey tea. And I was like, I can't do, who do I think I am? It's too hot here. I'm like walking along the beach with my Earl Grey, like I'm going to die. So I said to my husband, if you go into where it's called Fresh Fields, there's like a little coffee shop and stuff there. I said, get me something that's like iced tea, but still like, you know, like you want to feel like the other coffee people in the world. So he brings me back like an iced chai, which I don't normally drink, but that's what I'm up to. Okay. Our next question says, the next question says, I sometimes worry that I'm not funny or adorable enough to have authentically sparkling copy. Do you have guidance for this? And then the second question goes on to say, you know, I've gotten marketing advice to minimize how much I talk about myself and to talk about my client, but you and Laura, meaning Laura Belgray, et cetera, talk about yourself lots and it works beautifully. How do you revise this advice? So the first thing that I want to say to anybody, and again, if this has been you, right? Pop this in the comments where you feel like I'm not that naturally, I don't feel like the funny comedian. I don't feel like that's me, or I don't have the smart comments. Okay, Kylie, you're feeling that to you. Okay, great. Yeah, pop it in, okay? Because here's what's important to remember. You have your own special thing. I promise you this. I'm not just saying this to like blow, you know, smoke up your ass because you donated to a charity and you're here on this call. I mean it seriously, okay? Like you all have something the problem is what happens is that we see people who maybe naturally this comes to them, and then we decide, oh, I don't get to play in this arena. And you absolutely do. Because usually what I'm sensing, and I think I can speak for Laura when I say this as well, is that I'm not drawing from like the most epic things that have ever happened to me. Bible, there's very crazy things I haven't even shared yet. If y'all can believe it, to my email list, there's a lot more, right? What I really want you to focus on more is what I learned in the actor world. And this is called what we call in the actor world. Let me back up on this. So when you're an actor and you're in grad school or any actor training, most likely what you have to do, they're many times called etudes, or as my teacher used to call them, slice of life moments. What does that mean? It means, let's say I'm playing Maggie in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, which I did. Thank you. And I had to come to the whole class one day and present myself as Maggie, not as Maggie in the scenes that I was doing, like with Brooke and, you know, if you know the play, not in those scenes, but a day in the life of Maggie. So I had to decide, okay, what would it be like if Maggie went grocery shopping? How would Maggie the cat go grocery shopping? And I had to make it up. Or be like, how would she brush her hair? How would she get ready, right? These are those slice of life moments. And very often, this is what people, not very often, 100% often, this is what people want to see in your content, in your emails, are these day in the life moments, right? These small moments. And if they end up being funny, great, but they don't need to be. It could be, this happened to me today. I got stung by a little jellyfish on my wrist. It's like, oh, okay, like there's a bigger slice of life moment, but you know what I mean? Like basically what I want you to do is take off your marketing hat and put on your creative hat and think of yourself as a creative being. So as you go through the world, go, I had an interaction with somebody at Target today and I'm wearing a mask and they're wearing a mask and we couldn't understand each other. And boy, that's weird. And maybe that could be an email or a piece of content, right? Or I stopped at a red light and a song came on the radio and that reminded me of this time when I went on a vacation, right? These tiny moments, that's the biggest thing, right? And then usually what happens is that once you start doing that, it starts to give you, and then other stories come. But if you're relying on it to be funny, or relying on to get the joke, you're missing the point. And the point is to be relatable with your audience, not to necessarily make your audience laugh or be funny, right? So if you are quirky, be quirky. Maybe you're a sarcastic person, be more sarcastic, right? One of my favorite people we've ever had on the Copy Chat is named Autumn Tompkins. She's an incredible copy editor, and I suggest that you know her and get involved in her world. She makes her entire thing being called the grumpy grammarian. So her whole thing is that she leans into her grumpiness. And it's what I love about her. By the way, Autumn is like this best person, but she has this like, that's her thing that she leans into. So like if you're grumpy, lean into it, right? Be able to lean into it a little bit more. We talk about this a lot, which if you join me for Create Your Coach or Copy in a few weeks, I'll talk about this, about leading into your own copy leading lady. And there's 5 of them. There's Hooker with a Heart of Gold. There's the quirky misfit, the good wife, like leaning into those parts of yourself and using them more. I'll also give you an example. I have a client of mine in the Copy Confidence Society right now. And she had a similar, someone is unmuted and I don't know. There's so many things to look through here. So if it's you, I think I found it. I'm really good at spotting this, I think. Nope, I'm not. But if it is you, I would ask you to mute yourself. If everyone just check really quick and go, am I muted? Just check. Maybe that did it. Hold on one second. I think so. I still hear it. Oh, wait. I figured it out. It was on page 1. Okay. So one of my clients inside the Copy Confidence Society, she had a similar question like this. So she goes, now as she's saying it, right? As she's telling me this, in the same question, she's saying, I'm also trying to figure out if I should call my sessions, and her last name is spelled M-O-H-R. So she's like, I'm trying to decide if I should do more, M-O-R-E, or M-O-H-R for like something she wanted to title something. And she goes, and my husband and I were going back and forth about this, like, what should it be, blah, 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 blah. And I'm reading this comment going, okay, first of all, you've answered your own question. Here's a story right here. This story between you and your husband trying to decide what should be the name of this program or this thing that you're coming up with, right? So very often we overlook these moments because we don't think they're story worthy, but they in fact are story worthy. So I would love if everyone that's sitting here right now, and you can pop it in the comments, what's just something that happened today that you're like, that could be a moment, that could be an example of a slice of life moment. What could it be? Just popping it in the comments and let's see. And very often, if you start to keep these, right? Keep them in a notebook, keep them on Google Docs. There's so many places where you can start to keep track of these. So then when you do go back to write, you go, oh, that's right. That's right. I could use this here. So I'd like to see what people come up with. Jamie says, I was telling my hubby about a story where we hitchhiked when I was in 5th grade at Girl Scout camp. I'd forgotten about it. How scary. Yes. Yes, Jamie. And now thinking the next step would be if I told a little bit of that moment of what was scary about hitchhiking, right? How could I then connect that back to my audience? What might feel scary for them in your niche, right? Let's say I told this story, right? I'd be like, so, hitchhiking my way along, does it ever feel like that when you go live on Facebook? Like you're hitchhiking, hoping the audience will stop and listen to you? Seeing those numbers go from 3 to 1 to back to 5, you're like, am I just standing here with my thumb out in Facebook Live space? Right? Now, boom, now I've told a story about myself and I've connected it back to the audience. And that's the third thing that I want to say about this is that, and I know, again, I think Laura would agree, I use myself to tell stories, but I'm using myself as a conduit to then bring it back around to my ideal audience to say, hey, has it ever felt like this for you when you insert the thing that I'm talking about? So it's not that I'm talking about myself just to talk about myself. And to be honest, I don't actually feel guilt about that. Like a lot of people are like, oh, why talk about yourself? I like talking about myself. I don't have any guilt about that. And I would encourage you to not either. I think we have a lot of this in the space of like, it always has to be about the ideal client or bust. And it's a little bit like, whoa, like let's everybody just calm down for a second. People buy from people. Every single one of my clients has bought from me because there's something I've said or spoken about myself that they've been drawn to. Likely you're here or decided to show up on this call because something about the copy chat and something that someone said has appealed to you, and that's come through storytelling. Whether I told a story about myself that connected back to you, one of the speakers did, or whatever. So this whole idea that everything is like client or bust, I'm like, can we just chill out for a minute, right? But with that being said, I want you to also think about, you're telling yourself as the story to kind of be the icebreaker. Remember when you used to go to those little camp things and they do the icebreaker, you go around? That's the way in. That gets someone to understand what you're saying. And then you go, hey, have you ever felt this way when you've gone on Facebook Live? Or has that ever felt like you when you've been trying to lose weight and keep hearing to do this, this, and this? So you're using yourself to be more relatable to then give the takeaway to them. And I hope that makes sense to you. And if it does, I'd love for you to pop it in the comments, because I think this is important, because it stops us. And then instead, what everyone's doing is writing emails that are like 3 best tips and everything looks and sounds alike, or we're just popping in stuff that says like, you know, new blog alert in the subject line. And it's like, no, right? I'm just checking out some of the stories in here because I love this so much. Oh my gosh, stop. I love that your chiropractor told you that you can start twerking. That's an email, right? Yep. I'm signed off to twerk. That can be your subject line, right? I love that. That's amazing. I'm just skimming through these. My son, unprompted, Lawrence, this is freaking hilarious, brought up some bags of milk from the freezer. For what reason, right? You just be like, and I'm sure that could connect back in some way to your own as a CPA, right? Like totally. Katie says, my husband went to the dermatologist this morning for a rash. It says he needs to get baby products. So now he's asking me to get him only baby wash and shampoo and body wash. Oh my God, I love this. See, this is what it is. It's just, what are these little moments that you can have? And then Valerie says, managing business today without childcare while in a casual business meeting, but had to turn off camera to go change a diaper. Yeah, right? COVID life, that's what it's like to run a business. You know what I mean? Yeah, like there's so many good ones here. So many good ones here. So this is what I want you to understand when you're thinking about this for yourself. Amazing. Okay, let's go down the line here. What do we got next? So, okay, next one is how to craft your message and craft your copy. Do you have to be in a certain mood to write copy? How do you find the place so your voice is consistent, right? So I wrote a little note to myself. I'm just reading because I don't ever want to forget all the good stuff that I felt like I was going to tell you. Yes, this is so good. Okay. So how many people here, pop this in the comments if you feel like, holy crap, I always feel like I need to be in the zone to write. Like if I'm not feeling it, you know, I don't have like my candle lit, I'm not feeling like in the zone to, you know, write, then it's not going to come out today, right? Yeah, we're getting a lot of yeses, right? No, not me. Oh, that's great. I love this. I just want to see who feels this way, because I think it's important to understand a few things when you're thinking about this. So for this, I'd like to borrow a quote from the great Seth Godin, who has a quote that says, and I think I nailed it, but I could be wrong, and you know, don't quote me on this quote, is him saying, you know, 50% of he says 50% of like the content I put out or copy or whatever it is below average. 50% of what I create is below average. And it's like so really what it's about is putting out stuff even when it isn't perfect. So one of my best friends in this world, her name is Megan, and she's an interior designer. She owns a company called Megan Hop Designs. And what she's seeing is a lot of people from New York City have moved, are in like temporary residences right now, but are wanting to make those things feel like home, deciding, are they going to go back to New York or what are they going to do? So she started this Instagram thing for clients and prospects and people, and it's called #GoodEnough. So she'll show you, basically, she says, okay, I'm going to show you how you could put like curtains in a rental. Okay, yeah, they should have come down to the floor, but they don't. So here's how you could do to make it, and she good enough. Or yesterday she did a thing of like, here's how you could do like sticky backsplash to make like a rental property, like in the backsplash to look nice while not investing in like the fancy marble or whatever. And she calls it Good Enough. It's the Good Enough project. And I think we need to adopt this more in our writing and in our content. is good enough, is being able to put something out there and letting it be. Because even when sometimes we don't think something is resonating or good enough, it's surprising the things I've written really fast and put out into the world, and I get all these responses to. Versus the thing I slave over and I'm like, have I said every little thing? And then I look and I'm like, oh, it went out at 1 o'clock and it's 1:10. Because I tend to get responses pretty quickly. And I'm looking and I'm like, nobody cared. And I spent an hour and a half doing this email. What the hell, right? So I encourage you to actually write more, like put stuff out there and have those places that are your, and I think you heard me talk about this on the copy chat, your lab, your experimental ground. So for me, that's the Facebook group. I use the copy chat Facebook group as my lab. And I see if something resonates, then I'll repurpose that. And there's going to be an email tomorrow that I already talked about in the group about putting my belly button ring back in after my surgery. People liked it. I'm not even exaggerating with you. I wrote that thing in like 10 minutes and popped it up. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm actually going to work on this a little bit, and I'm going to make it an email for this week. So I encourage you all to have a place where you can experiment a little bit, whether it's your personal profile, it's your business page, it's your Facebook group, it's your Instagram, it's your email. Like, what's the place where you can practice a little bit and then see what's resonating? And I encourage you to put out more than you think. Now, with that being said, I think it's really important to know yourself and the kind of creator that you are. Because I can tell you right when you don't feel like you're going to have to write, right when you don't feel like it, like this is your job, like wake up and do it. Is this a side hustle? Is this your business? You know what I mean? I can say that to you, but it's still not going to help you if you're feeling that in that moment, right? You're still going to wake up and feel shitty and be like, oh, I got to write. I know I don't want to, but I have to. And the reality is sometimes you do. So what can you know? So how can you curb that for yourself is to know more and more about when your best times are to create. So taking some time, let's say it was for the next 2 weeks, and you just noted where your energy, maybe you're an early morning, pop it in the comments here. Are you an early morning person? I've been trying to be an early morning person for 36 years, y'all. And maybe someday I try my darndest to be an early morning person. I want to be like Mark Wahlberg. You know, he's like up at 4, worked out, banana smoothie by 5. I want to be that person, right? And there's some people, that's when they thrive. I know people who really thrive in the mid-afternoon. I'm like, I can't even imagine. I'm like, whoa, after 3 o'clock, I'm done. Do you know what I mean? So and there's night people. I love, Stacey, that you said you're a night owl. This is so important. So understanding where are your creative time, so you could put them into your week. My business manager coined this as your CEO time. And now I've swiped this from her, CEO time. And I think sometimes we insert our CEO time like around, and we actually have to put that in first. So knowing when is so if you look at, let's say you plan on a weekly basis, right? Every Sunday you sit down to go, here's what's got to get done this week. Your CEO time should already be in there and everything else comes around it. Okay, so maybe you have CEO time. Maybe it's like a bunch of hours, you get everything done once a week. Maybe you have 2 times of CEO hours. It's going to be different for everybody, but that it's already planned. So you know, and if you're a late afternoon person, early morning, that it's planned around your zones of creativity for yourself, right? The other thing that I would say is knowing, and I'm not like a super kind of woo-woo person. I'm becoming more woo-woo in my old age, but I really do believe in learning about things about yourself. Like, even if it's like your own, diving deeper into your own astrology and understanding like when you were born and your time of day. I've learned so much about myself from this stuff. Your human design, knowing your human design is huge, I think. Who here knows their human design? Pop it in here. I'll give you an example. So I'm a manifesting generator, 6'2". Yeah, I'm a manifesting generator. Like I'm the Energizer Bunny. I have like ideas are coming at me at all moments. But I'm a 6'2". So the 6 is a little bit more, is the best way I can describe it is kind of like a Steve Jobs, but like a nicer Steve Jobs. Like I could basically create anything I wanted to, like, you know, me in a turtleneck basically. But the 2, which is the second number in your human design, is usually one that people don't know about themselves as much as the first number. The first number usually makes sense to us, but the second number can be really powerful. And the second number for me is 2, is the hermit. And I would never have thought about this about myself. But when I really think about it, I do actually need those times. So inside the Copy Confidence Society, we edit every week. You have the opportunity to upload copy that you're working on. I don't know another program that does this in this way. Like, you can upload whatever copy you're working on and we go in and we edit it. That takes some space. So the hermit in me needs to go away into my copy cave with that, right? Which I didn't necessarily realize about myself, but when I first had my chart and someone said, oh, you're the 2, you have a hermit in you, I was like, oh my God, you're right. I need those moments of like doing that. So I think when you're thinking of creativity and your moments of creativity, knowing things like your human design, not that it has to be like Bible, and if you decide, oh my God, I'm this and now I have to be this, but see what resonates with you. If you do it, go, hey, that is like me, and maybe I could make my schedule accordingly. I believe your human design, hold on, let me give you the link. I gave this in a, on one of the recaps. Yes. Okay, let me give you the link. It's free to do. You're gonna wanna know your, your birth date, your birth time, all that stuff. Let me just do it right here. Yeah, you need your birthday. Here it is. So any of those things, right? Sonia, you're a hermit too. Yeah, totally. I never even thought about the 2 before. I kind of ignored it. And then I had like a real reading done and they were like, let's spend some time on the 2, the hermit. And I'm like, yeah, okay, so what? And then I'm like, oh my God, I am, right? It'll when you go in, it'll tell you. It tells you like the little things. You guys, there's like a second. And you can always then go have it read by someone or worked on with someone as well. In my, in the Copy Confidence Society, we have an alumni group. And in the alumni group, when people stay on, we have someone come in and read everybody's, which is so freaking cool. So I just encourage you to spend some time. So far, what I hope you're getting is like taking off your marketing hat and putting on your creative hat. Right? Being the chief like communicator for your business, it's a lot. There's no way to get around writing and communicating for your business. Like, there's just no way. So you have to think of yourself a little bit more creatively than likely we do sometimes. Okay, let's see. Hold on one second. Let me go back to my little page here. And the other thing I want to say about this is that consistency, going back to the Seth Godin part, I said this, I want to make sure I remind you to say it, is that consistency comes with frequency. So the more that you're writing, the more you put out stuff, you start to be consistent. The idea is that people are like, okay, I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to do it. It's like, I'm going to email 5 times this week. And instead just going like day by day in a sense, right? Like just deciding that you're going to be frequent and that consistency will come as you do that. I just wanted to make sure I said that as well. Okay, this is a copywriter question, and someone asked, how do you avoid burnout when copy is such a service-oriented biz, being a copywriter, right? And then from there, they also asked, what is the thing you learned or tried to do that made the biggest impact on your revenue? So how do you avoid burnout in a service-oriented biz for copy? I would say this is in any niche and across any industry. Is to going back to what Shani was talking to us about, is being specific. Being specific. So from a copy standpoint, deciding, is there a type of person that you want to write for? Maybe you want to be the go-to for health coaches. Or maybe you want to be the email launch person. Maybe you want to be the email launch person for health coaches. Even better. Right? I always talk about niching by 3 Ps, by person, by product, and by purpose. Eventually, if you can nail all 3, that's amazing. But even if you can just hit one thing, so who could you be the go-to for? So like we said, as a copywriter, maybe you're a website person. Maybe you're the website person. You want to be like the website person. Or you want to be Facebook ad copy. If people want bang on Facebook ad copy, you're the person. So that's how you can be less burned out, because you're going to have your zone. You're going to be focused on something so specifically, instead of trying to jump around to, okay, today I'm doing website copy for this kind of person, then tomorrow I'm doing a launch for this. And I'm not saying that's a bad way to kind of start out, to realize what you love doing, but eventually, if you want to get out of that and you want to really be a go-to and be considered a specialist, you kind of have to claim that for yourself. And then the second part of that question was, what was the one thing that I did that made the biggest impact on my revenue? Well, I don't know if anybody can guess the answer to that, but the answer is creating the copy chat. That's the answer. The answer was stop relying on other people's stages to get me seen and rely on my own stage. Create my own stage. Stop relying on, hopefully people will refer me. Hopefully I might pop in this Facebook, group and make a comment and someone will remember me from this group. And instead I decided to go create my own stage. And that's what I learned from the actor world. If anybody here ever watched, and I talked about this on my interview with Jocelyn, but if anybody here loved the show Fleabag, has anybody ever watched that show or loved it? It was on Amazon. It was created, produced, all the things by a woman named Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And what a lot of people don't know is that it started as a one-woman show. So Phoebe did Fleabag as a one-woman show in London. And then it got picked up and made into the series that swept the Golden Globes. It swept all the British awards. It swept the Emmys. People were obsessed with Fleabag. Yes, same thing with Issa Rae. Same thing, right? This is in the actor world. What happens is that a lot of times people are like, well, if I want to get known, I got to go create my own web series or show. And then from there, it gets picked up. And that's what I decided to do in the business world. So the best thing I ever did was create the Copy Chat. So I went from $50,000 to $250,000 to over $500,000 this year. I went from having 90 people on my email list, and now I have just shy of 10,000 people in 2 years. All of that has come, and not just the vanity metrics of it all, but even you being here, being able to make the impact for charity, helping the women in my group quadruple their own list, have the best months in business they've ever had. All that all stems back from me creating my own stage and creating the Copy Chat. And now that's what I help other people do. Let's create an uncopyable message, and then let's create your own stage. How do you create your own stage? Well, I mean, that's what I can talk to you about this at any time, Monica, but mainly you want to start to think of what could it be? Maybe it's a summit for you. Maybe it's a podcast. Maybe it's doing a 5-day challenge. Maybe it's simply creating maybe a webinar to start, or a masterclass that you can invite people to. There's all smaller and bigger ways to create your own stage that brings people to you, that brings your audience to you, as opposed to you going around and picking up a couple people here or chasing people here or hoping for people here. So that's how I would answer that question. Okay. Next, this is another copywriting question about, how did I get started in copywriting, and how do you write in the brand voice of people you write for? And what strategies did you do to get people on your email list? I think this will actually be helpful for everybody actually. So quickly, how I got started was that, like I said, I was an actor, and I had come off of, of grad school. I had an agent and a manager, and I couldn't go back to doing all of my old jobs and balancing it all. I needed something that I could do, that I could write. Like if I was on set, I could be writing at the same time. So a friend of mine suggested it for me, and that's how I started. And my very first client actually said to me, "Oh, could you write a JV packet for me?" And I was like, "Sure, I'd love to." I had no clue what a JV packet was. Like I had no clue. And I was like, "Would you just send me a sample of one that you like so I know?" And then what I found out is I was creating a what's called an affiliate packet. I was writing an affiliate packet for the person, and that's how I started. So someone would ask me to write a website, and I'd say, "Hey, could you send me samples of what you love?" And I started to learn by doing that, and that's how I started. And then I just kept going. And in terms of how do I find brand voice of people that I write for, is that, and I would say this for yourself too, whether you're writing for yourself or you write for someone else, is I do a lot of research, and I don't really take on private clients anymore, but when I did, one of the biggest things that I did was I had a pretty extensive kind of intake form for them to fill out when they come in. It's called the Biz Quiz. And I would go through it with them. So not just having them answer it, but going through and seeing if I could, and someone says, "Well, my clients feel overwhelmed," or they feel this, and not being afraid to go, "Could you break down what overwhelm looks like for your client?" Because overwhelm for me, for the, 57 people on this call, everybody, it's going to be different. Right? So if everyone's just writing copy that says you feel overwhelmed, like it's all going to sound the same. So for each of us, it sounds different. So I would ask, okay, what does overwhelm look like for you? Oh, you're a financial coach. They'd say, you're scared to look at your numbers. You're scared to open your, Chase bank account. You go to put your password in and you're shaking because you don't know if it's in the red or you're in the clear, and you don't know who to ask, whatever. So everyone is going to be different. So I would ask a ton of questions. I would also interview, and I always included this in my packages, is I would interview and ask that I would interview no less than 4 to more the merrier of clients of theirs. And I'd get on a Zoom just like we are now. I'd record the conversation and I'd take notes and I'd ask them questions to come up with that client language. I'd also go and read whatever the client had already written. I'd look at their own copy, their emails, anything that they'd already created. I'd go and I'd listen to them on podcasts so I could get a feel for their voice and their cadence and how they speak and what they found funny. And I would ask them to help me in creating what I call a word closet. So it's like, if you go into your own closet right now, I'm sure we all have go-to colors that we wear, right? Like a stylist or someone will usually ask you, right? Like, what's your favorite color? What are your go-tos? Are you a print person or you're a solid person? And I think we actually all have this for words and phrases. I call it a word closet. So there's words or phrases that we all kind of naturally say that the client would create with me. And then I would go back and I would look. And the client would say, oh my God, this sounds so much like me. I always say that. Like, yeah, I know. I took it from your word closet. So like in my word closet, there's always like the word jazzed. I say jazzed a lot. Sweeties in there. I call my mom Sweetie. It's like a joke between me and her. I have like soup to nuts is in there. Schnooks. I have like all these things. So if you're doing this for a client, you can always look back and say, if you have the word like amazing or outstanding and you want to change it, maybe there's something in that client's or in your own word closet that sounds a little bit more like you and not as cliched or as like everyone else. I'm just looking here. That's the best tip Laura taught me. Listen and use their language. Yeah. Use their language. It's the best thing you can do. And I'm sure you heard Justin and I talk about this, and we talked about it with Zafira, and then I talked about it in the recap, is that we're always trying to figure out like the perfect phrases or the perfect headline or the perfect something. And most of the time, it's actually a client of yours has probably said it. They've probably given you the headline. So going in, the more that you can get their language, the better. So the more you can interview people and ask them, the better. And then also this person asked, what strategies have I used to get people on my email list? I kind of already answered this, that the summit has been my number one way. Like I said, I went from 90 people to just shy of 5,000 in the first year. And now here we are just shy of 10 in the second year. So that's been the biggest thing. Also doing lead magnet swaps, swapping your lead magnet with another person and sharing with each other's communities, going on podcasts, being visible, being a guest on someone's summit, right? Anywhere where you can offer a free gift or a way to get into the vortex. Speaking, I think we always think it's got to be on like some giant stage. No, not at all. I mean, right now we're all on a virtual stage, no matter what it is, right? Because we can't really go anywhere. But any opportunity to speak is a thing that you want to say yes to. Yes, absolutely. And you'll figure out what you're going to say later. Yes, I will. I'll do that. Become a yes and person and figure it out as you go and showing up, because it will always pay off for you, especially if you work one-to-one with people. And let's say you're in a room of, let's say it was even 15 people and one of those people become a client. I think we have to start thinking of it like that. I think we always think in these giant numbers, and that doesn't mean anything, right? Even me saying I went from 5,000 to 9,000 people, it really doesn't mean jack shit if those people don't become at some point clients. I mean, it's nice to have 9,000 people reading, my emails. Certainly I couldn't fit 9,000 people, on my street, but it's like, how does that then convert to becoming clients for you? So I think we have to stop thinking in terms of like, and how we can think of in quality and really connecting with people. So becoming a yes and person, going on a podcast, saying yes and showing up and doing your best work and asking that person, hey, I have a free gift I made specially for today, or would I be able to offer it? And that's a great way to start to build your email list. Okay. Our next question says, how do I come up with content and how do I know what to include and what not? I'm terrible at cutting things and always feel as if my emails are way too long, but then I see yours or Meryl's. Meryl's a guest on Coffee Chat. She's been a guest on the Coffee Chat twice, and she's a genius. and they are long and I can't stop reading them. And then the other question was, what's your take on then repurposing that copy for social media? When are the best times? So full stop, my answer on like, oh, if it's too long is like, full stop, stop worrying about is too long, quite honestly. Like, stop. Your idea is, have I told the story? Have I said what needed to be said here? So you may have emails that are longer. You may have sometimes where content's shorter. I think we get so caught up in like, oh gosh, it's so long, it's so long. It actually doesn't matter. If you think about really great people that you listen to, or comedy or comedians, they may take, the punchline may come like, you know, I know comedians who they've told like basically 2 jokes, the first joke and then the last thing that they say, and the whole middle is them getting there. So if it's interesting and you've kept people's attention, it doesn't really matter. So instead, I'd ask you to go, instead of worrying about if it's too long, go, how can I make this more interesting for me to tell this story? So here's some ways you can do that. Using dialogue, pop some dialogue into this email. Use shorter, crisper paragraphs instead of having those long paragraphs, right? So anything that we kind of learned, and I do have an English major, so I get this, you know, and like Joyce Carol Oates is my favorite author. If anyone else knows Joyce Carol Oates, it's like, she'll take 200 pages to just describe the color of the house of, you know, in the book, We Were the Mulvaney. She takes like the first 100 pages just to describe the drive to the house. That's all that happens. But because she does it with such detail, I'm like, I'm in it, you know? So, but in a way to do that in email or in content is having shorter, crisper paragraphs, having bullet points, going through your copy and going, is this just one long chunk? Or do I have some bullet points? Do I have dialogue here? Another thing that I love to do is go back and bold certain parts of an email and then just read those bold points out and go, if I read these bold points out, and that's the only thing I read in this email, would my ideal reader have some idea of what's going on? Or would they need more follow-up, or does it entice them to keep reading? I do that a lot. The other thing is adding in like GIFs, GIFs, one of them is the right way to say it. Adding those in your content, or adding photos, like breaking the copy up with stuff like that, instead of worrying about it being long. And if something was long, maybe the next time you send something and it's a little bit shorter, but not getting so caught up in that, and more getting caught up with, have I told the story? Have I used some dialogue? Do I have bullet points here? All of those things are really, really important. And then about repurposing that copy for social media, you know, the question was, should this happen at different times? And I will tell you this, not everybody sees your stuff. They just don't. And very often I might in the morning, in my morning scroll, see something of someone's on Instagram, but not really take it in. But then if they email it like the same thing to me, I may go, oh yeah, that's right, I wanted to read that. And then I actually take the time to read it, or vice versa. And just because somebody is inside your email community doesn't mean they may just be in your email community. I have lots of people that are on my email list that aren't inside the Copy Chat Facebook group. So if I don't repurpose my little belly button content post, then they're not going to see it. And that would suck, because it's really good and I want people to see it. So I wouldn't be worried about, I would actually make it a point to repurpose and share across multiple, you know, your key platforms. The other thing that you can do is, let's say your piece of content, maybe it had 3 tips. Maybe within there were 3 tips. Maybe in Instagram, maybe that was an email let's say it was originally an email you sent on the 3 tips, but you want to repurpose it. Maybe in the Instagram post, you could do the first tip and then say, hey, want to know the rest? Check out my my Instagram stories, where I'm going to break down the other 2 tips. Now you've given people, oh, Rose, I'm just, not you. Now you've given people, they've read the email, great. Or if they've missed it, now they can come to your, hold on one second. Now they can come to your Instagram, and now you've given them a reason to go to your Instagram stories. Or on Facebook, you could say, here's the first tip, want the other 2? Come into my Facebook group. I'm going to break them down today on a Facebook Live. And maybe your Facebook Live is about those 3 tips, and be like, you might have seen this today. It might have been emailed to you. I'm going to break this down a little bit more. So actually making it a point to repurpose and being creative with it. So I love to actually do that and go, okay, where can I do a part of it? And then make the second part, where else could I get them to go to join me, whether to come to the Facebook group, go to my Instagram stories, etc. But just knowing that people don't see everything that you do. And so for a while, we haven't been doing it lately just because we've been in copy chat mode. I would send out an email on Tuesdays, and whatever that email was, Hosanna, my assistant, knew to repurpose that exact email for Wednesday across my social media platforms. Just that thing. We'd make a little image and then it would just be blasted everywhere. And it'd be crazy because I'd have different people respond, or I'd have people go, oh, I caught some of this in email, but I didn't have a chance. And so I'm so glad this came through my Facebook. It's been getting me to think about this. And then they'd have a comment. So repurpose, repurpose, repurpose all the time. Okay, let's see what we got next. Here we go. How do I write a new kind of sales page to be fun and easy to read to my clients? Okay, so the best thing that you want to do when speaking of sales pages, because someone else had this as well. So if you didn't get a chance to go listen to Zafira's interview, go listen to this. Zafira has you covered on this. She really talks in a gorgeous way how to create a really, really great and fun sales page. Inside the Copy Confidence Society, I teach my ladies like a 10-step kind of process for this, which I'll kind of break down for you, just so you can kind of understand. Inside of a sales page, there's kind of, it doesn't matter how you get to these places, but these are the main things that you want to make sure that you hit. So you want to make sure that you hit a core transformation, like that very clear transformation at the top that we talked about back a little while ago about the webinar registration page. You want to make sure that you have clear what this is, right? So if I say discover what to say, how to say, and how to sell it with personality-filled copy that dazzles inside of the Copy Confidence Society. A 9-month business mentorship with Marisa Corcoran. There'd be a book your call button, and then below that would be testimonial. When Marisa and I revamped my sales page, I made $10,000 from it 48 hours later. That's true. That happened to my client, Chantel. And then boom, more about that. That's your top right there. So if nobody went any further, they know the core promise, they know what it actually is, like what this thing is. They have a way to take their next step, and they have a piece of social proof to back it up. Then the next thing you want to do after that is describe to the person, hey, I know this is what you've been struggling with, but here's what's possible for you on the other side, right? So to say to somebody, again, just to use the Copy Confidence Society as an example, you know, if you could discover a simple way to create your own copyable message, create your own stage that effortlessly brings people to you, you know, and sell at whatever price point you desire, whenever you want to, right? Would you give yourself that chance, or would you continue to, and then I can tell them what they've been struggling with, cobbling together online courses, hoping that that's going to be the next thing, working on the same tripwire and this, you know, and the same $27 product as everybody else and wondering why you're not making any money, DIYing it through everything and not, right? And I'd go through what they've been struggling with. So that's what you want for that next section, is describing, here's how you're struggling, but here's then leading them to the solution. But inside the Copy Confidence Society, we can get rid of all that and help you create your own copyable message. Then the next part, this is very, very, very important, and people skip this all the time. I want to know about you and the creator of this thing. I want to know why you created it. Why did you do this? So I want a why now. I want a story about you that connects the person of why you created it. So for the Copy Confidence Society, I often tell the story of how I used to carry around a human spine in a suitcase. It was fake. It's not a real human spine. I used to work for a chiropractor's office. I was a salesperson for them. And I used to go around, you know, all over New York City and get people to come in for appointments. And I was really good at it. I was real good at it. And so I talk about what I learned from that and how that I bring over to business and how I teach my clients how to do that. So I tell a story. And then the next section after that, you want to tell them like what the benefits are, what's going to happen to them. What's going to happen to them if they do this? What's going to be possible for them on the other side? And then you definitely want a section that's what you actually get in the program, right? How you actually need to deliver these benefits. Is it one-on-one? Are there weekly live trainings? Is there a Facebook group? Like, what are the actual features? Then you want to have an FAQ section. People skip an FAQ section and you need one. You got to remember your buyer personas. There's people that were like, I don't want to read any of this. I want to skip right down to the FAQs and see if you've answered my questions. So very simple FAQs. And then I love to have what I call like a come to Jesus moment, like a rallying them in the end. Being like, sure, you could not do this right now, but here's what you could be sacrificing if you don't take this next step for yourself. I call it like a come to Jesus moment. And you also, some of the other perks that you could have in there is having a section of like, this is for you if, this is not for you if. Having a very clear for you, not for you, like T-chart is also really great. So those are kind of just like the overall kind of skeletal structure. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be like in that order, but making sure that you've hit some key points for people. So a lot of times people try to make like sales pages like so like, I don't know, like too creative and not enough of like giving the information that needs to be given. So I like to think of those sections as a very easy way to kind of like just get all the information out there and hit the different buyer personas. So if you're somebody that like that connection to the person really matters, like to me, I've bought things, I don't know when we're meeting, I don't know what I signed up for. My coaching program literally all last year met during the exact time that I taught my coaching program. I didn't even know when I signed up because all I cared about was that the person that I signed up with, her story, I could relate so deeply to. I was like, I want to know that person. So if she never told that story, she likely wouldn't have had me as a client because the other stuff, I just don't read that stuff. But now there's other people who might not read that story about me, but read, I had a client in the first round of the
Well, she was at one. Had I been sitting here.
I had someone in the first round of the society be like, I'm here because one of the ways that you answered the FAQ questions really spoke to me. And I was like, oh, the FAQs, right? Some people might just go to the FAQ, or some people might just go to what they get, the what they get section. So being able that you've hit those different buyer personas is really important. So that's my sales page spiel. Okay. Our next question is, how do you talk about intangible but important benefits, such as revealing yourself or self-discovery or confidence and so on? It says, I am assuming that you paint a picture with specific situations, but how do I come up with these situations and details? My brain doesn't think that way, au naturel. So there's two parts to this. And we've actually recently, one of my clients just did a masterclass, and the first time she put the copy out there, the copy was a little bit, it wasn't fluffy. It was still clear, but she was running ads to it. And so this was a really interesting experiment, and it just wasn't getting the hits that she wanted. But when we went back and looked at the copy again, and we changed it to be very clear, like in this masterclass, you're going to learn how to grow your email list. Like it was that clear. Boom, and I think she had over 150 people sign up for her masterclass. That was yesterday. So you have to be clear. So to say like, so here's what happens when people say like, oh, confidence or self-discovery, people, I know that we think this, and I don't want to discount it. So I want you just like to hear the whole thing that I'm saying. But late at night at 3 a.m., somebody is not bursting out of bed going, if only I had self-discovery. Nobody's thinking that. I have never lost sleep because of lacking my self-discovery. It's usually linked to something. I've never lost sleep because I thought, I wish I had more confidence. More confidence about what? More confidence about being on camera? More confidence about believing that I can get pregnant naturally? I've been on like a baby pregnancy kick, as you can tell. So a lot of my examples are always like baby ones. Is it self-discovery about myself, struggling with weight loss, struggling with clear skin, struggling with being a better mother? What are those things? So you always want to take those intangible things and see what can you specifically link back to the tangible part of your business or your niche. Let me know if that makes sense to you in the comments, because I know sometimes this can be something that takes a little bit for people to understand. And understand that it might not be, if you're working on a sales page or something, we might actually have to put the sales page to the side for a second, and we got to maybe go back and look at your core messaging. So I want you to understand that this is all a journey, right? If your core messaging isn't clear, and then you go to try and write the supporting pieces like a website or a sales page, and you're feeling confused or it doesn't feel clear, don't try to finish that or complete that. We got to go back to your core messaging and go, how can we make this clearer for people? Right? Right. You talk about their pain points. Right, exactly. But what you want to do is, so what does the lack of self-discovery or confidence for them mean? Because we all have different niches, right? So confidence for my clients is going to be different than Sonia's I'm just looking at Sonia right now, or Melissa's confidence, or Brenda's, or Melissa's, or Lawrence's, or Lori's, or Tyra's. Like, they're all going to be different. So you have to be able to connect that back. The second thing that you can do sometimes, I had a client like this. So one of my clients was a weight loss coach, right? And anybody who worked with her, like, yes, she was going to give you the meal plan. Yes, she was going to show you how she did it, all of that. But she used to have a masterclass that people had to watch before they could even be in her bigger program or work with her. And so basically how the copy was written was like, we get that, like, you want the meal plan, you want to know how to do this, you want to finally lose the 10 pounds, you've done it all, you've done keto, you've restricted yourself, all that. We get that you want that answer, but what you likely haven't done is the deep inner work that needs to happen. So yes, I'm going to give you the meal plan and all that, but first you got to manage your mind and get your mind right. So that's another way that you can go about it, but you have to be that bold when you write about it. Is to say, I know that I'm going to give you all of the ways to, again, we'll go back to the pregnancy, get pregnant naturally and all that. I'm going to give you all my tips, the times of the month, the warm lemon water, all that stuff. But the first thing that you need to get straight is your own, like, managing your mind and your anxiety that likely nobody's told you before. Those aren't the sexy things, but those are the things you have to know. So and I think both are possible, actually, like always going back to what's tangible, but maybe having a moment in your sales page or your website where you have that kind of come to Jesus moment with people, where you say, sure, I can give you all the recipes and all of it at once, but if you don't get this straight, it's not going to matter to you. So if that's what you're looking for, then you might as well X out of this page, because we're going to do more than that here. And that's a good way to repel the people that aren't ready to go on that journey anyways. So that's the answer for that. It's very important because, sorry, I forget I'm like at the beach, and like the little boardwalk thing is literally, the beach is literally right here. And so people just walk by and they're probably like, who is she speaking to? They're just walking by, like looking in, like, who is she speaking to? I was out there answering Boxers yesterday morning, and I'm like, people probably are like, why is she on a walkie-talkie out there? Okay. Okay. And then it was like, okay, the second part to this was, what is the best copy to sell a product that's a mix of tangible and intangible? And I think we basically just talked about this, which is always try to go back to what's tangible, right? So let's say you are talking about confidence, right? But is it confidence, again, for who? So usually what happens, if those are the things that people say, they're not clear on, remember when we talked about the 3 Ps, the product, the person, the purpose, they're usually not clear enough on, like, the person. So is it confidence for a female engineer who's constantly trying to get known in a sea of dudes in a corporate meeting? Okay, now there's somebody that maybe you want to sell confidence to and help them figure out how to, smash the patriarchy and, in the world of engineers or whatever it is. So always go for the tangible and finding the ways to connect it back, or just being like super bold in saying, hey, I can give you all of this stuff, but if you don't get this other stuff right, you're never going to get the results that you want. And that's likely why you're probably on this never-ending hamster wheel, loop of stuff, etc. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Hold on one second. Okay. Okay, just some of these, they're like the same. So I just want to make sure there wasn't anything that I missed. Okay, so someone asked, how can I organize my daily, weekly, monthly, and someday tasks and projects? So is this a big thing? Let me know in the comments about actually having, you know, creating like a content calendar for yourself and having stuff. Pop that in if that's something that you've, yes, Kylie's saying yes. Okay, Tyra's saying yes. Yeah, okay, I agree with you, Elizabeth. If it doesn't get planned, it doesn't get done. So again, remember we were talking about CEO time before? It's very important during your CEO time. And you know, one of the ways that I do this is I recently ordered, you know, those like dry erase boards. I ordered one that has like I ordered like 3 monthly ones. And so they're huge. They're on the wall. They're huge in our house. And I like to plan myself out in quarters or at least like 3 months ahead and then work backwards. So if everybody right now were to think as we go into Q4, into the fall, to go, okay, what do I want to do for the next 3 months before like the holidays get started? Maybe it's offering a masterclass that goes into getting some more one-on-one clients with you. Maybe it's pitching your own program. Maybe it's more visibility, like whatever that goal is for yourself, like giving yourself quarterly goals, or you could do this once a month. You could do it once every 3 months, whatever you want, right? But giving yourself those goals and then work backwards. And then you can fill in your CEO time. And I promise you, then you're going to know, you're going to understand everything that happens from there. So if I go, okay, I'll use myself as an example. Okay, well, we already have 12 people in for the next round of the Copy Confidence Society. So I really just need like 7 or 8 more people. Okay, so I know that and that's where we're headed. And some of the ladies that are currently in the society, I know will want to come into the alumni group. Okay, I got it. I know what my goals are. So to work backwards from that, I go, okay, what do I do to get there? I go, okay, well, I likely will do the masterclass coming up so that more people can see or learn how I teach and what we do inside the program. So they can learn about how we help you create your own copyable message, what the actual editing looks like, how we help you create your own stage step by step, all the selling stuff, everything. So I go, okay, how will I do that? Okay, well, I'm likely going to do that in the masterclass. All right, well, I want to invite people to the masterclass. Okay. And then I can work backwards. So I know each week, here's what I need to actually, the kind of content and stuff that I need to be putting out. So this is why it's very important for everybody who's here right now. And I'd love for you to remember this for yourself. It's very important, is you got to stop saying, I just want to make more money, more clients. You can't. People get on calls with me and they go, I just want more clients. Who doesn't? So you have to know specifically like what you're wanting, how many clients, for how much money, in what way do you want to work with them? And when you start getting specific like that, you're going to find that it's easier to create content, CEO time, like it all gets easier the more specific you're willing to be. And don't be down on yourself or hard on yourself if it doesn't come to you sitting here right now. You're like, I don't know. Take some time to think about it. Go on a walk and go, okay, if by the end of this year, I got blank amount of clients, or this many people bought my course, or this happened, right? Giving yourself those goals and then working back from there. But don't leave it at like, I just want more clients or more whatever. Let me know if that makes sense. Pop that into the comments if that makes sense to you. Somebody asked about subject lines. And so I just wanted to let you know that both Laura and I have genius subject line freebies. So if you don't have them, you should definitely have them. They're both amazing. They're both different in their own way. Like, go get them if you don't have them. Laura's is listed on, I think we put mine on there too. And I don't even think you have to sign up for mine. I think it's just there because you're already in my community. You got them. Okay, good. But that's going to give you 3 different subject line. Mine at least gives you 3 different subject line formulas. And it gives you, swipes. It gives you email examples, like go get this thing. So I won't spend too much time there just because, is it in the copy chat group? Yes, Kylie. And you can also go to my go to the main on my website, and it's the thing that pops up on my website too. It's there. You can find it there. Okay. And then someone asked about like putting links in emails, like a call to action link. How many times should you do that? Oh, thank you, Brenna. Thank you. How many times should you do that? 3. So usually I like to have a click here. Like I like to make it very clear for people. A lot of times people like to be fancy, and it's like, no, sometimes we got to make it very clear. So the first season of the copy chat, I tried to do that, and you would not believe how many people emailed me and went, so where's the button to listen? And I'm like, wait, it's in there. So we changed the buttons to be like, listen now, right? So you want to have one very clear button. Click here to read the blog. Click here to get the 350 scroll stopping headlines or subject lines, whatever, right? Then you can have other ones where like certain words or phrases are hyperlinked. People kept asking me, how do you create such compelling subject lines? And maybe compelling subject lines is hyperlinked, and that would link over to if my call to action was the subject lines. And then maybe you could have another one in your PS. So I would definitely say having 3. Yep, did you put Laura's in there too? Thank you, Brenna. Thank you. Yeah, perfect. So that's what I'd say about that. Okay, so we have a few more here, and then we'll leave a few minutes if people have questions while they're here. The other thing people were asking, this kind of goes with in terms of emails. So people are like, if I have blogs, or I have, I'm writing content, how do I put the same blog in the email? So what I like to do for that is to actually use the email to tease what's coming to the blog. So let's say your blog is on, 3, I don't know, like 3 new recipes maybe you're offering. Maybe it was like 3 new, like late summer snacks or something. The email could maybe be a little bit of a story. I'm, sitting here at the beach overlooking, and I've been wanting to stay healthy. For some reason, the minute I cross into Seabrook Island, all I want is like ice cream, barbecue, and like a handful of M&Ms, which is, by the way, me. For some reason, I went to the grocery store here and was like, ooh, Oreos. And I was like, why? S'mores, we should do s'mores, right? So I could say in the email, how do you keep yourself on track in like, that late summer if you're like on a vacation? Click over to the blog where I'm giving you my 3 late summer snacks. And then the blog would actually be that information. So I like to use the email as like a tease to set it up, telling a little bit story and then send over into the blog. That's just personal. It's what I used to do a lot when I was a content writer for like 3 different companies and I was on retainer. That's the way that I always did that. And I always found that people clicked over to it. They loved it. We'd set them up for a reason why you would click over, and then they would, which also gets people in the habit of clicking. So then when you are selling something or you're doing something, you already have your people in the habit of clicking over to you, clicking over to see stuff, spending time and reading and all that jazz. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Someone was asking any advice on how to change one's mindset from backstage crew to center stage cat, right? So this is, and the person also said, I've spent time doing this for other people. I've done project management, I've worked for small businesses, I've done design, translation, etc. And now I'm trying to break out on my own or put myself out there. So how many people has this been the case for, where maybe you've gotten really great success for clients of yours, and now you want to, make yourself more visible, and you're like, oh crap, how do I do that? How do I go from being, the backstage person to being center stage or being more visible for myself? Has anyone struggled with that or felt that way, you can pop it in the comments and let me know. Yes, Kylie, I love this. From the best kept secret to the most famous. Yep. Okay, I think what's really important here for anybody who is felt this way is that I talk to my clients a lot about what's called skin in the game. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying before about like, it can't just be about more clients, more money. And it can't just be like for yourself, I just want to make more money. You have to know like why you're doing all of this. Right? So for me, I started my business. I did it all. Really, what pushed me was when I stopped acting. And it was probably a few weeks after that, I got a thing in the mail about my student loan and what my student loan had grown to. And I couldn't believe it. Like, I couldn't believe that I had taken out a total of like whatever. And now my loan was like $175,000. I was like, how? And I remember it was like this anvil on my chest. And like, I looked at my husband, who was a comedian at the time. And I just realized like we were these two creative kids and we didn't know like shit about money and we were going to be broke. And like, I loved my husband very much, but I knew that it wasn't going to be his skill set. And I knew it was like, I'm either doing this or I'm just going to continue right on the line of my family, of especially the women in my family, of struggling. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to end that pattern. I'd grown up with a single mom. My dad died when I was 2. And I watched my mom be like, we'd be at a Chili's and we'd have a Chili's by them. And my mom would like take me out to dinner at Chili's and she'd call HSBC from the table to make sure that she had enough money to like treat me to this dinner. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not living like that. So I literally wrote down on a piece of paper, I'm going to pay off my student loan. I'm going to help other women pay off their student loan. And I'm going to give my mom, my family, everybody, all the things that they always wanted to have. We're going to end this. It ends with me right here. We're not doing this anymore. That is how clear my skin in the game was. So when I decided, okay, well, it's not going to happen by me just going in Facebook groups or hoping or getting referrals. Like, I'm going to have to create my own stage on those nights. And I want you to understand this. There are nights where I literally was like, why am I doing this? Like, who the hell is going to listen to me? Nights where I was totally fearful, like sick to my stomach. I went back to my skin in the game. This is why I'm doing this. Because if I don't do this, we go another whatever, right? So each and every one of you that's sitting here and listening to me right now, you have a skin in the game that is that strong. And you got to write it out for yourself. You got to know what it is. And sometimes it can be really fun too. It doesn't always have to be, it can be really fun. One of my clients told me, she's like, I always just want to fly first class. I travel a lot. I have family, and she has family that lives like in Africa. And she said, I just want to always fly first class. I go there a lot. And that's one of the things, it's a really long flight. And I never want that to hinder me from going. We can work with that. I was like, yes. Right. One of my clients was like, one of my clients from not this round of the society, but last round told me they live in Texas and it's so hot there. And the kids, and she says, I just want my kids to have a pool. Like, I want my home to be the place that the kids come to. I didn't have that. I want my kids to have that here, where they come to my house and I have the sandwiches, the lemonade, and they swim all day. I'm like, we can work with that. So every sale she made in the program, we were like, one more thought towards the pool. So your skin in the game has to be like so strong, because that will help you then go, okay, here's what I got to do to get to, center stage here, right? And it might be possible for you. I think people think, oh, because I was an actor, like a natural extrovert. And in many ways I am, but in many ways, don't forget, as I told you about my human design, I am a hermit. So I definitely have to sometimes get myself like in the zone to like be on. So if you're an introvert or you feel like this is really scary for you, I want you to know I understand that 100%, right? I'm not asking you to like, turn around with your microphone like Beyonce tomorrow and be like, welcome to my show. But to start to make your skin in the game and all of those things clear so that you can inch your way towards eventually doing that for yourself. So the only way that you can do that is start something. Maybe it's going live. Maybe it's saying, you know what, I am going to start my Facebook group and I'm going to commit to going live in there once a week. That's amazing. That's your stage right there. Start doing that. Maybe I know I'm just going to do a lead magnet. I'm going to actually reach out to someone and see if this person would do a lead magnet swap with me. I'm going to go in front of their audience or see if I could guest teach inside. Like there's so many ways that you can do it, but it's never going to really get you. You're never going to actually take those leaps if your skin in the game isn't so clear. Because otherwise, in those days when you don't feel like doing it or you feel scared, you don't have something to connect it back to. And I want you to know I still have those moments, and every single time that I do, I look and I go, well, I now am the sole provider for our family. And, I've been able to do, so many things. I don't know, we have a lot of new people around here, but I'll share this with you because my mom started going back to church because now they've opened churches again after COVID. She could go back to church. And I was like, all right, I'm like, okay, fine. I'm like, Mom, you do know that you could still get COVID at church, but do you, be you, go for it. Wear your mask. Don't shake anyone's hand during sign of the peace. Just give people the peace sign. It's all good. So my mom has this habit. She's done this my whole life where she leaves her purse in the back of the car before she goes into church. This is her thing. She thinks it's hidden. It's like, okay, Mom, everyone sees you putting it back there. So she does this her first time going back to church, but her purse got stolen. Someone stole it out of the bishop's parking lot. She parks in the bishop. So the bishop can't save you, Mom. And her purse got stolen and she was devastated. It was all of her stuff was in there. And if this was me, and she had just gone grocery shopping for my grandfather. So my Uncle Joe had given her $250 in cash. And so she had it in her wallet. And she was just sad, it was all those things. And I remember being like, if this was me, however many years ago, there's nothing I could have done for my mom, even 3 years ago. I could have been, but what could I have really done? We didn't have any money. Well, this time I went out, I bought my mom a brand new Michael Kors bag with a matching wallet. And I put $300 cash into the wallet with some extra goodies and I mailed it to her. And it was just so beautiful. Not because I was able to send her a purse. It doesn't have to be a material thing, but that I could do that for my mom. And so that's what my business does for me. And so I just want you to feel connected to it in that way, because that's going to help you every time you go, holy shit, I got to get on Zoom and teach today, or I got to even show up in a Facebook Live, right? You just keep going back and know you're going to make mistakes. The first time I ever did this bonus call, you guys, I flipped the laptop over. I talk with my hands a lot and I was answering a question and I flipped the laptop off of the thing. And by the way, I got a couple clients from that because people emailed me and they're like, I just want to work with you. I can't believe you kept going. And they were part of the Copy Confidence Society. Very Italian. I've done so many things. It's going to happen. And then you can use it for stories. Okay. So just go with it. Okay. I was going to answer one more here and then we can just take a few minutes if people have questions that didn't get answered or want to ask. The other part, oh, wait. Okay. I think this is a really good question as well. Some people are saying, I'm a product-based business, right? So I'm struggling with retaining and converting the traffic, to sales. I get traffic to my website and my emails, but I don't know how to get it to sales. So I would tell you in terms of okay, even if you're a product-based business, I think a lot of what we talked about on the copy chat still totally matters, right? You want to have that elements of storytelling. People want to know why you created it, why they should pay attention, sharing client stories, people who wear your jewelry or use the products. All of those things stay the same. But another thing is giving people a reason to buy. This is the same in service-based. So people go, well, I have a book a call button in my emails and nobody ever books a call. Well, it's like if it's always available to book the call, it's like there's no reason to give people. So having some sort of scarcity. So maybe there's one time, let's say you had a month, you were a product-based business. 1 week you could offer some sort of bonus. If you bought this necklace, you also got these seashell earrings. And then maybe another week it was a 25% off coupon. And then maybe the last week was for anybody who buys the moonstone necklace, we're going to donate, 5% to a charity. And you could just repeat that same thing every month. And then as you're working on bringing more people into your email list, then obviously new people are going to keep seeing this, and you give people a reason to buy. You need to give people a reason to buy. It can't just be book a call and then hope for the best. So there has to be something that is included, like giving people a reason. Or maybe there's things that are like in the vault and then they come back out. Maybe you're not selling everything all the time as well. So I just wanted you to think about that if you were product-based. And it also counts, by the way, if you're service-based too, is giving people a reason. So you don't have to think of yourself as like constantly launching, but thinking like, what could I give here as an added perk to somebody, especially if you're trying to not just do one-to-one, but one-to-many, and you want more people to do it as well. So those were a chunk full of questions that were sent. So I'd love to just take a few minutes if anybody has something they want to ask that they didn't feel got covered, or something came to you from listening in. I just see one right here in the comments. I'll answer, and then we can take a moment. People can just unmute themselves. Speaking on call to actions, if you're doing a recap now, must there be just one CTA because you're trying to recap everything? Yes. So you mean, can you unmute yourself and tell me what you mean by this? Just want to make sure.
Okay, so hi everyone.
Hi. And is it, did I say your name right on the, will you say your name for everybody?
Oh, my name is Toyiba.
Toyiba. Okay, I wasn't too far off.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Toyiba. Okay, go for it. Explain.
Okay, so let's say you have like a membership or where you have monthly activities. So you want to do a recap meal. Let's say you have so many activities during the month. You want to do a recap meal. Should you just put all the links to all the stuff you've done during the month, or you should just put one CTA? Because that's kind of tricky for me.
Yep, I get that. That's a really great question. Okay, so normally we would say like one call to action, one link. But if it is an actual email, Toyiba, that is actually recapping, then I think it's okay to be like, if you need, here's what we did this month. And if you need this, you should go here. And if you're looking for this, you should go here. I think you just want to make it very clear that this is in fact the monthly roundup, or this is the recap email. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, most of the time you want to have one, but if it's something like that, then we do this for copy chat too. It's like, want to listen in, click here. Already have it, but want to do the upgrade, go here, right? Jamie, you said you had a question. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay. Hello.
Hi, Jamie.
Hey, thanks for everything.
Oh, yeah, thanks for being here.
Love it. So I struggle with getting clear, speaking to my ideal client, because I want to help them get healthy, but they want to lose weight. So I know I have to speak to the losing weight part to get their attention.
Yeah.
But I don't want to make this big, bold promise that you can lose 20 pounds, because I don't know that they can, if they don't do the work. So I just want to be careful about what I promise, but deep down, I want to help them get healthy, but I know they want to lose weight. So I was wondering if you had any insight on that.
So if you were, let's say you were nervous or scared, and it's valid, about saying, if you're going to lose 20, I can't say it that they're going to lose 20 pounds. If that was off the table, would you still want to focus on weight loss or no?
Well, I do think it's important. I do think, yes, because I think it helps them feel confident, and they need, to me, the weight is a symptom of what's unhealthy on the inside. But them losing weight, if they're doing it the right way and healthy, then they're getting healthy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when it comes to weight loss, like how my gut is always is like, we got to be on one side or the other from it. We're either weight loss, or we're on another side that's like, we're not about, this is about something else. This is not about weight loss. So if you are going to go weight loss, one of the things you want to talk about, I didn't really say it here, is to really think about, like, not necessarily feeling like, oh, I don't want to promise people, but going, if somebody, I always talk about like Tiggers versus Eeyores. Everyone here knows Winnie the Pooh, right? Okay. So like Eeyore is like, okay, we could talk to Eeyore for hours. He's never really going to do what we want him to do. He's just sad. And that's the way he's always going to be. As opposed to Tigger, who like is going to show up and just needs to do the work. And the more you can speak to Tiggers in your copy, the more you're going to get that woman who's ready to do the work that it takes. So you always want to think, if I'm speaking to the Tigger, the woman who's going to show up, right, take the advice to the best of her ability. What does the kind of copy I would write to her? And then you can back up whatever those things are, or not even say the 20 pounds. Maybe that's said in social proof. Right? Someone else, I'm your client. And it's like, I worked with Jamie and she helped me see the inner work that I hadn't realized. And not only do I feel more confident, but I lost 20 pounds.
Awesome. Okay.
So
And I had some of those. So good.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So the numbers are those things that maybe you might be concerned about. That actually comes from your social proof. Let other people, the testimonials, say, oh my God, I lost 10 pounds and I, finally fit into those jeans, or I'm having sex with the lights on now. Like whatever it is for that woman, you know what I'm saying? And so not always just making it about the number, but connecting what the number then means to them.
Yes.
But making sure that you're writing it to like the Tigger, the woman who, if she showed up and did did the work, what is possible for her?
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, no, you're welcome. You're welcome. Anyone else?
Yeah, I had a question. I'm
Gina.
Gina. Hi. So I redid my email welcome series, and I'm following your 6 for my weekly newsletters that I send too. Now the weekly, if I'm understanding this correctly, because my welcome sequence, I only have 4 emails right now, and
Great.
I finished the 4th one using kind of your, what you were saying here, and I actually put a video in on that 4th one too.
Great.
But I'm wondering, do you do 6, and how long do you put, like, for the initial welcome? Because they're going to get another email from me anyway within a week. By the time they're going through that, they're going to get kind of in the other series. Does that make sense? So
yeah. So you're saying, how do you space your welcome sequence?
how do you space them? Do you have to do 6 for the welcome, or is 3 or 4 okay? And
I promise you, okay, obviously I want you all to do like a real welcome sequence, and 4 is a real one. That's amazing.
okay.
I promise every single person here, if you just did 1 welcome email, you're already like way above so many people who don't send anything, right? Like raise your hand, you get the lead magnet, and all of a sudden you either hear nothing from the person or you're just in their emails and you're like, what? So just the fact that you've done even 4, Gina, is amazing. So the way that you can space those people out, so obviously like, let's say like in ConvertKit, they're going to have their own tag before they go into like the other pool. I know people who do a welcome sequence like once a week. I know people who do them like right away. I actually like to do them closer to kind of get people through it. So I would say I would probably send your welcome email upon downloading the freebie.
Mm-hmm.
I would send your second one the next day. And I would then take your third one, maybe skip a day, and your third one comes the next day. Then you could maybe skip another day and then the other one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's kind of what, before I was doing like immediately, then a day, then 2, then 2
Yeah.
kind of thing. So
That's
So
totally
that's
fine.
like exactly what you were doing. So my other question is, I have different kind of products that I'm doing. So I have other email series. So I created a Christmas planner, and I have their kind of, welcome series as well. So how do you incorporate the 2? Because I worry about the initial sign up welcome series, the weekly email, and then these other, if they opt into different things and they get other series because they're interested in different things, then how do you mesh that? Right now, I just have them tagged to a group. I have MailerLite.
Mhm.
So they're kind of getting their own welcome. I'm kind of incorporating some things in that welcome series, but they're not going through the full one until after they're done
Yeah.
with the regular.
And that's okay. So you want to make sure, like, if people come through the welcome series, they're not getting your regular emails. They're just getting that to start. And then they would get filtered into everything. But if they go and they sign up for other stuff, it's sometimes like hard to, tag them exactly. So right now people sign up for CopyChat, right? And they got the onboard emails for CopyChat, but then they might've gone and signed up for the subject lines. So they ended up getting, like, in a way, 2 sets of emails from me. And it's like, it's okay. Like, I didn't stress myself out about it. but there are ways like more, and I would actually talk to like a VA or like a more like a techie person to just figure out if there's a way that you could even segment them like more. But
Yeah,
when
I
it
can put them on
comes
in a group. Yeah, I can
Yeah,
make
put them in a
another group, and then that one will then get my weekly emails. So I could do that.
Right. But if
Okay.
I've done this where I've signed up for someone's freebie, I'm in a welcome sequence, and then maybe I go sign up for something else of theirs, and I get like another set of emails, and it's okay.
Okay. I just didn't want them to get overwhelmed because I sometimes get these emails like every single, I just unsubscribe after time because I have like 100 emails in one day, and it's like,
Yeah.
I like their stuff, but I only need it occasionally, not, that's why
Yeah.
I was, so.
Yeah, I think like it's the fact that you even like have it is so good. And if people come in and they're getting other stuff, like I wouldn't stress yourself about it. I think there's ways that you can segment and tag, but I wouldn't let it like worry you too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, great. Great. So I want to just say again, thank you so, so much for being here. I know we covered.
Sorry, can I still ask a question?
Yeah, Toyiba, go ahead. You can. You
Okay.
can.
So imagine if you're just starting out fresh, you have no stage or audience, but
Yep.
you want to put yourself out to people without necessarily building the stage now. For example, just freelancing. So how do you suggest you cold pitch yourself, sort of, either by mail or a sales call as your service, maybe copywriting, content writing, and all of that? How do you suggest you cold pitch yourself to people that you may have never had any interaction with before?
Totally. So Toyiba, are you a copywriter yourself?
No, I'm a content writer and community manager on Instagram.
Okay, amazing. So I think the first thing you'd want to do, and this is for anybody, is get yourself involved in a community of other, like let's say like copywriters, like there's like the copywriter club that you can be on in Facebook. There's like 10,000 people in there. Like getting yourself involved in other communities where there are other people like you. So you kind of have that like virtual, water cooler where you can like, first off, just have someone else that you can ask questions to. And usually there's posts in those group, Toyiba, where somebody says, hey, I'm looking for somebody who could do Instagram. Anybody here, that's their jam. And then you could come in and comment and slowly start to build your network in that way by being involved in other communities. So that's really big. Also starting to pitch yourself to talk about what you do or what you specifically do around Instagram or who it's for, and not like major podcasts, but there's so many really great, I feel like podcasts now is like craft beer. There's like all these little things like popping up, right? It's no longer, you got to be on like, Amy Porterfield or bust. Like there's all these like smaller podcasts, Toyiba, that you could pitch that would love to have you on. So working on like what might be your unique angle or something that you could talk about. So building that way. Starting there and seeing how that feels, but even just being involved in something like this, Toyiba, and asking a question. Now you just perked my ears by saying the Instagram part. I'm like, wow, I have clients who need stuff like that all the time. So just showing up even in something like this and asking the question and putting yourself out there. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Perfect. Right. Lauren says I've gotten specialist help from other bookkeepers and accountants. Yeah. One of the first things that I ever did was just be involved in a community where there were other writers, and I could be like, oh, I love to do sales pages. Oh my God, I love to do that. Right. Or just starting that way as well is huge, and just building. And then once you have those clients, you strike while the iron's hot. To say to that client, hey, I've really loved our time together and I'd love to call in more people like you. Who else do you know? Because you can build a really solid business for yourself. This is for anybody, just from, referrals to start. That's how I built my business before I started the Copy Chat. I mean, I was able to quit all my side gigs and just be writing. And that was all referral based. It's a really good question. Okay, well, I just want to thank you all again for being here and being here for, almost 2 hours and being present and asking questions. And again, thank you so much for being part of the Copy Chat. Again, because of you, we were able to raise over $13,000, which is insane and amazing. And I really, really appreciate you being here and asking questions. And I really, really hope that you continue to think about your copy and your messaging in this way. And as you've heard me say, like, copy is not the icing on the cake. Copy is the butter, it's the flour, it's the eggs. And the more people understand what you do, how you talk about it, it makes everything else easier. And then using that to what I talk about, creating your own stage and building visibility. So I encourage you to stick around, hang out inside the Copy Chat Facebook group. There'll be really, really fun things coming up this fall. A lot of opportunities to work on your copy and be involved in the community. So thank you so much for being here. And I hope you have an incredible, I know we're all in different time zones. So it's Thursday here. So I always call it Friday Junior. So have a really great rest of your Friday Junior. And I'll see you inside the Copy Chat Facebook group. And again, this will be recorded. So if you're watching this now or in the future, you'll get an email tomorrow. As I said, she takes care of everything for me. I just show up and talk. She'll send it. My husband just laughed at that. He's over here. She'll send it out to you tomorrow with the recording. So you can always go back and listen in again. So thank you so much for being here. And I will see you inside the Copy Chat. Okay. Bye, everyone. Bye.